Well, I'm not Phil. I'm Marshall Peter. However, I must say that over the years there have been an extraordinary number of opportunities for Phil and I to be confused with each other, and I think that will become a more and more likely and active problem as the next few months ensue. I also have to say I flunked disco dancing twice, but intro to disco dancing I flunked twice. And at a point in my life where it seemed absolutely critical that I be a disco dancer, and it just, but it wasn't to be. And fortunately, there's no expectation that I would disco dance in this particular moment, nor will there be for the remainder of the conference. I really want to thank Tina Diamond, who has just been, our ship so came in when Tina became our project officer. She is smart, she's respectful, she's helpful, she's a strong internal advocate. She's an incredible leader, editor, thinker, and so we are just so much the better for having Tina Diamond as our project officer. So please thank Tina. And what a treat it is to see all of you here. There's so many folks that we have long-term relationships with who have been very, very much a part of CADRE's success. And so as I look at it, it's this kind of, it's this failure of looking at it family. I'm at a point in my career where I'm sort of working through old stuff, lots of stuff that I hung on to that I thought would be incredibly important at some point in the future, and it hasn't really stood up to that test, and so periodically I'm kind of taking bins of stuff out to our recycle bin and still kind of bringing stuff home that my wife wishes I wasn't, and kind of figuring out, so where do plaques go after you retire, and just this whole, it's an interesting point in my life. Much to my delight, and hopefully you will agree to your benefit, I came across the speech I made when I welcomed this group to the first symposium in 2000. It was really interesting for me to look at what was on our minds back then and compare it to what we're thinking about today. Back in 2000, there were lots of performance markers, ways that we were sort of tracking our accomplishments and what we had gotten done in the first 2 years. One example was that we were absolutely thrilled to report that at that point in time we were having 162 different visitors each day to our website. As I take a look at where we're at now, we are averaging 2,503 unique visitors a day to our website, which is and Dick Zeller will appreciate this, represents a 1,545% increase. And we are in the process, the CADRE team is well on their way to launching a brand new website, which we hope, in fact, we hope that you'll thrill to sometime earlier next year. There have also been some real changes in tone. 2 weeks before the symposium in 2000, I heard Larry Gleckler, who was then the special education director for the state of New York, talk about the day-to-day bare-knuckle fighting that was occurring in special education. I think that as we look today, there has been a bit of a shift in the tone, which isn't to say that there aren't still nasty fights occurring, but the frequency of those fights, I think most, if not all of us, would agree has gone down. One indicator of that change is that there's been a 38% decline in the number of due process hearings in the last 8 years. And so while there continues to be substantial amounts of conflict, and I think we would also agree in many cases the conflict is justifiable, nonetheless, in general, conflict is being handled more capably, and I think folks are entering more positively predisposed towards collaborative approaches to resolving conflict. Back in 2000, I posed 5 questions that I felt we should focus our attention on. 1, how can we embed capable collaborative problem solving in our schools, early intervention programs, and in all of our work? 2, how can we provide dispute resolution assistance before people become angry, relationships become volatile? and conflicts become intractable. 3, how can we be sure that the student's voice is present and heard in mediation and other important processes? 4, how can we identify and better understand the critical elements of successful dispute resolution practice? And 5, how can we promote collaborative problem solving and dispute resolution to school districts and families and be sure that it is an attractive and preferred option? Only one piece of paper, two-sided, but just... Together we have certainly nibbled on and even taken a bite out of these issues, and they remain very deserving of our attention. One very important and vexing challenge that wasn't mentioned in 2000 and that continues to call out for our collective attention is, how can we ensure that families from culturally, linguistically, and economically diverse backgrounds are effective participants in decisions that affect their children? How can we ensure that these families understand the full range of dispute resolution options and benefit from those that best suit them? Reductions in the use of adversarial dispute resolution options only tell part of the story. Unfortunately, many parents whose children receive special education services have absolutely no understanding about the IEP process and are ill-equipped to effectively participate. As a result, their children often don't receive the same quality of services and are less likely to experience academic success and more likely to receive exclusionary discipline and drop out of school. This is a problem that is dead center in the headlights of American educational policy, and one that we in this room can make an important contribution to solving. Elevating capacity at the local level is a high-stakes undertaking and a very important part of our work ahead. While we've been very busy, we still have an enormous task ahead of us. Poorly managed conflict exacts a huge toll on parents, educators, service providers, and ultimately children. An old proverb from the Kikuyu of Kenya states that when elephants fight, the grass beneath them dies. Our children depend on a potent family-school partnership to design and implement educational programs that work. Without that partnership, our confidence in the likelihood of a student succeeding is diminished. Back in 2000, Philip Moses was the symposium chair, a role that he has held on to and accomplished admirably, and served as CADRE's technical assistance coordinator. And Amy Walsh, where are you, Amy? And Amy Walsh, I hope folks will look for an opportunity to get to know Amy. Amy Walsh was responsible for conference logistics. Now, as we look ahead to 2016, Phil will be the director of CADRE, and Amy, a superstar that I hope you'll get a chance to talk with, will be the CEO of Direction Service. So many good things have come out of the symposium. And what an incredible luxury it is to be able to turn the reins of CADRE over to a great thinker, capable leader, symposium chair extraordinaire, and my dear friend Phil Moses, who will now introduce this morning's keynote speaker.